Tex, Kate, Guy, welcome back to the show. A few technical glitches. Let's get straight into it. Guy, do you remember Ironman Melbourne from a few years ago before the finished? Was it the year that you guys did it when how many people were in the race to start with, but there's that iconic shot of the start of the swim where they're going into quite a difficult swim conditions. Were you in that race, and have you actually seen what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I was in one of those races, so I only went for a few years. It didn't end that well for me, but that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother podcast.
Oh, jeez, here we If we honestly did a podcast for the races that didn't go well for you, I mean, how long have I been doing this? It'd match it at least. Anyway, back to the swim start rather than your race.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. My mind is like a ferret that's had too much sugar.
Let's not.
Anyway,
remember the SPCA? Remember you're not allowed to allowed to use the animal analogies when you're talking about things.
Our goldfish is an animal. Yes, I remember this, Bevan. I remember because it was next to that little jetty or the wharf or whatever when they started, and then we're like thousands of people running into Sea Chop. If there's ever going to be a race that breeds anxiety and fear into people that are maybe not the most confident swimmers, that swim start would have been it. I would have been, how many people got pulled that day? I do not know, but I can imagine there was more than a few because that looked crazy.
Have you seen it, Tex? Do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly the video you're talking about. It is epic. It's kind of like the old days of just like huge, like on another scale of mass starts, which is pretty epic. Like that's what you'd want to race. If you told someone how your race was, that's what you'd say. It was.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It was the inner city when they were testing how they could get those inner city races, weren't they? Ironman was trying to see. We had Auckland 70.3 for a bit in Melbourne.
That's right.
But it was a sold out race. It was hugely popular. But it was, like Tex said, the old school, wasn't it? Like nobody was questioning whether they were going to not do the swim or not, but they were certainly looked like they were marching towards something that was, they weren't rushing. No one was really rushing to get the race because the water conditions were, I would say, if they had you know how we've questioned whether they should cancel a swim or not? On that day, I would have said that should have been cancelled.
There was no way that swim would be on now. They would have cancelled that.
No.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
But on that cheery note, however,
Tex and I would have loved that as those conditions. We're like primed, set for it.
100%. Yeah, stroke rate. Just stroke rate. But on that cheery note, it's not like that nowadays. And we actually have an entry to give away to Melbourne 70.3. So it's coming up. It's not that far away. It's in November. Having just come back to Melbourne, it is an incredible sporting city. It certainly hosts this event really well. It has got that iconic beachside location. The Race Village, Cantani Gardens in St Kilda. You'll enjoy the expansive views of Port Phillip Bay, palm tree-lined boardwalks, iconic buildings, sunsets, and all within a few kilometres of the CBD. And Jack and I were just joking. You guys are off to do the New York Marathon, and we don't really trust whether Guy can contain himself in a big city when there's a race on.
No.
But in Melbourne, one of the beauties of going to this race is that you do have the city on your doorstep. So you can make a big week of it or a long weekend and you get to enjoy the best of both worlds. So the course is scenic, pretty quick by all accounts. I'm sure Guy's got a story of a poor race performance there at some point in his career. But it's certainly something that we're enjoying giving race entries away to. And I know the last time we did for Melbourne, it was a great day out for everyone. So if you're interested, make sure you're on our newsletter and we'll put the entry conditions to put your name in the hat to win that race entry out. And it's coming up shortly. So anyone interested, if you're not on our newsletter list, get your name on it. It's all free. You just sign up. And when you see the competition entry, and if you're keen, we can look to get you into that draw and give away that entry. Now, talking about Melbourne 70.3, there was a little bit of 70.3 racing over the weekend. Few talking points, not a huge amount coming out of it, because I think as everyone's starting to gear up to think about Kona, I know Tex is racing it, so he's probably more worried about that. But what are you guys feeling about where we are in the point of the tri season, Kate? Any takeaways from the racing over the weekend for you?
I think that everyone who is racing championship races right now mostly are focused on championship races. We're not going to see them again until Nice, and then we won't see them again until Kona. So I think anyone who's serious about those races, that's, what are we, 3 weeks out from Nice. So it doesn't mean there's not some great racing going on. We had
Zellamzee, I think.
Correct.
Will be a good
Pro
one.
Series. And
That's
Laura
Pro
Phillips
Series,
on that
so
start
that will
list,
be a good one.
isn't she, I think?
Yeah.
So we've got some bits to punctuate it on the way in, but you're right. It was still some awesome athletes. Like, it's so hard to win a race, but it wasn't where our attention was drawn for the weekend. That's all.
Yeah. No, I actually, when I was thinking about the podcast, I'd completely forgotten about the racing. So congratulations to those who did well, but I don't know, it's too many talking points for us to focus on, other than the fact that you talked about Nice, Kate, and also in Zellamzee. I do remember Zellamzee last year watching the coverage, Tex. It's pretty hilly even in Zellamzee, isn't it? Not really technical, but it's lumpy, the Zellamzee course. I remember watching the girls' race and seeing when Bex Clark was close to the front of that race, there were a couple of fairly solid climbs.
I think there's one solid climb that you go up. I can't quite remember the course profile, but it's like flat, fast, and then there is a good climb. I think it's why Freddie Funk's always liked it. I think that's one of his favourites on the calendar, like reminiscent of some of his favourite sort of training grounds. But yeah, you're right, it's an awesome looking race, like one that we'd love to get over to at some point. Add that to the bucket list for sure.
Next year, you've gone all summer, like winter.
Okay, the question is, our global triathlon world travellers, have either of you done Zellamzee?
No,
we haven't.
No. Okay. No. Geez, I can normally throw it to you guys for some first-hand experience, but I'm getting nothing back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Short story.
Let's move on to Nice then. Let's move on to Nice. Now, we were going to talk about this the other week. Word on the street is, and I think Jamie Riddle, and you brought this up, Guy, he's publicly announced the fact that he's going to do Nice on a road bike. But we do know of a few others that have now announced that they're thinking of doing it on a road bike as well. And Nick Thompson being one of those?
Yeah, that's right. I had a little bit of an inside scoop earlier because I train with some of his best mates down here. So they're like, oh, they got a picture on a WhatsApp thing and they were just showing me. And I was like, is that Nick's bike? It was like a Factor. And obviously now he's released it on Instagram. He hasn't released the actual frame because it's like pixelated. But yeah, so it must have been about a month ago or 3 weeks ago that he decided. So it was quite a way out from the race. He decided he was riding a road bike. But their road bikes are like set up like TTs. People are like, oh, they're riding a road bike. It's not like Gustav when he actually rode a road bike with just some clip-ons. It's a full-on like customized cockpit on a road frame. So it's
not the first time, but it's just become more advanced the way they're doing it.
It's still going to be, it's just going to be lighter than their TTs, I guess. But yeah, he's riding a road bike, but they look like TTs, man. I mean,
I think you're right. They set them up so that they can achieve a slightly better aerodynamic position for riding on the flat. But essentially the thinking behind it is because of the handling. Although, sometimes it could be literally maybe because their TT bikes are pretty heavy and are only really decent on a flat course. That's something that you think is the case, Tex?
Yeah, I think you'll find it's pretty athlete sponsor specific in terms of how they spec the bike out. And we see it every year that it was in Nice. I even remember when I did Nice 70.3 in 2019, there was heaps of athletes that did it on a road bike. And I don't know if you remember the famous Keenlay bike that he got stripped back down to like the raw carbon to make his TT bike ultra light. Like if I was to do Nice 70.3 again, I'd do it probably on my road bike with clip-on handlebars. I think the bike handling's so much better. There's not that much flat time trialing. The descent it's not technical. Like you're on the power the whole time, but it would be good to just be able to throw around the corners a lot faster.
Would you do clip-ons, or would you make a whole? Because those guys have got the whole TT front end cockpit. Would you just do clip-ons or the whole front TT, like TT bars?
I was an age grouper. I would just do clip-ons. If I was a pro that was well supported, that someone was going to pay for an extension with a base bar, then I'd do that. And that being said, like my current time trial bike is very road bike-esque because it's a UCI legal, like that Shiv TT handles just as well as my road bike going downhill, and a lot of it's just to do with like the angles that it's set up. Like the head angle's pretty aggressive, and like a lot of those old ones are like barges. Like I remember my old Canyons, like it was a bit of a bike to bring through a fast corner. Yeah.
I mean, even as coaches though, we've coached athletes to Nice 70.3, and I've had athletes that have said you will be better off riding a road bike. So I've had some athletes on road bikes and some athletes on time trials, depending on what their strengths are and their skills are like.
Yeah, I think at the same thing, actually, because we can get overly obsessed with marginal gains from a aerodynamics or TT perspective. And I find that quite interesting because I see a lot of people purchasing TT bikes and then not getting bike fits, and not actually getting into great aerodynamic positions. You know, Tex and I have talked about this all the time. We had Aero app on, where, you know, I'm pretty sure the uptake for things like that will slowly provide more aerodynamic and bike fitting opportunities. But you only have to go to any race to see there's a lot of TT bikes being ridden by people not in particularly aerodynamic positions. And then you throw in the demands of a race course like Nice. It's totally going to be better. And like I've only ever ridden those hills on a road bike. So I know what it feels like, and I'm not the greatest descender in the world, but I'd much prefer to go down some of those descents on a road bike than what I would on a TT bike. For some people whose bike actually never sees the road, Kate, what do you think of the need for bike handling skills? What do you do as a coach? You know, because you guys probably do a little bit more hands-on riding with your athletes than what I've done in recent years. Is it something you focus on, Kate, as a coach in terms of bike handling?
Not enough. I'll admit to that, and I would say that's because we predominantly coach adults. Janine Kay, who takes our junior program, yes, they have, you know, bike handling skills and workshops. And then when we're running during summer, if we're doing our Thursday morning bike intervals, we will often say, okay, when you're coming into this roundabout, because we have a stretch of road that we do the intervals on, you know, remember you should be doing this, to remember, you know, to lift this foot up. But we have talked about having, you know, maybe actually offering it to, because a lot of adults are new to the sport. So offering a beginner, not necessarily a beginner, but upskill your skills on the bike, like come for an hour or two and do it. Because I think
I feel like across the board there is a dire need for this.
Yeah, because we're having these race courses as well, like Nice, although, you know, we're going to lose that shortly. But I do know athletes that have qualified for that race when it was a world champs at both full and short course that were absolutely terrified by the profile of the race course, because not necessarily just from the demands of it from a physical perspective, but from a technical perspective as well. And you look at the pro racing at the highest end of the, you know, at the front, at the pointy end of it, that descent in Nice for a number of years, and I suspect it will still be that case for the 70.3, was quite pivotal from a technical perspective for both the men and the women. Would you agree with that, Tex?
Yes and no. I think it was more of an ability. I don't find it a very technical descent at all. It was more of a case of being able to apply constant pressure on the pedals in the back end, because it's still a very pedally descent. I compare it to our time in Italy, where the gradient's just that extra few percent where you're very much on the base bar. Whereas you look at someone like Martin Van Riel, even like Rudy von Berg, when they went down there in aero pretty much the whole way. Like it's a pretty comfortable descent. It's just being comfortable to be able to take those turns fast in aero while still pushing good power. That's I always found it an interesting descent in Nice, and I think that's what scares people. Is it's like, where do you draw the line of trying to find speed and like, it's that sort of comfort, being able to apply power and trying to hold good speed.
I don't know. The men is one thing, but I think in the female side of it, I think a lot of athletes, when they prepared for Nice in the pro ranks, I think Kat Matthews went out there and spent a heck of a lot of time learning that descent and becoming a better descender overall. So I'm sure, unfortunately, I've had to go down a lot of descents behind you and text you when I get to the bottom, like 45 minutes.
That's me too.
Yeah. So you're not you're probably the wrong person to ask on that question, Tex, because you do descend really well. Tell me then, Kate, did you see yourself as a good descender? No. And then Guy, you
no, not at all.
What about you,
I
Guy?
would say that I lack bike skills, and I would say I'm not a good descender, and a lot of that would just be confidence. I think, unfortunately, the older I get, the less confident, the more I'm, inclined not to do it, because I'm like, well, I'm not doing it now. Like, I'm not in my 20s. I'm not as fearless anymore. But, and I've grown up, I was riding a little bit to and from school, but nothing, I never came through riding road bikes or doing road races or anything like that. So it was pretty much straight onto a TT bike and straight lines. So there was never really any technical aspect to it. And I do remember when I was in Boise, my coach trying to help me out, practicing some descending like halfway down Bogus, and he said, we're going to wrap you up in like what people wear on motorcycles, like put it all around your arms, all around your legs, and we're going to time you, and we're just going to keep doing a few repeats. This was Jeff, and see, get you to try and get comfortable. This was just with descending, but it's a skill, and it's a skill I've
just renewed my liability insurance. I've just because if I said to my athletes, okay, I want you to put these motorcycle leathers on, and we're just going to go to the top of this hill, and here's a motorcycle helmet. The way that you're going to learn to descend is I'll send Jack off, and you have to try to stay with Jack.
That's how I descend now, like with the young kids. That's how I feel like I keep my level. And I'm not saying I'm a great descender, I would say I'm decent. But I've got kids that are young and they're good, and I'll just follow them. And I just follow the lines. And before I go out for a hills ride, I check my tires, and to have that confidence in my head, I'm like, okay, my tires aren't bald. They've got enough grip on them. There's no massive flashes. You're probably not going to die today. Let's go.
Well, see, that's a whole sort of generation of people that have been involved in the sport for so long, because the technical stuff's not taught, is it? I think it happens a lot, obviously, as cyclist and bike racing, and I reckon I'm going to take a guess here, but a lot of Jack's skills has come from as much mountain biking as it come from road cycling. Would you agree that mountain biking is a good way to build up a little bit of skill? It's not obviously exactly the same in terms of picking lines, but just in being able to manage a bike. I always find, and I think we see it in the tour a lot, or any professional cycling, those that have had some mountain biking experience are definitely good bike handlers. What do you think, Tex?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up on a mountain bike, more, and wasn't great at it, but I definitely just spent a lot of time on the bike and always enjoyed it. And it's a quick way to get a lot faster. And the other one is just riding with people that are a lot better, like Louis, who I did most of my riding with before I probably went pro. And even when I was a pro, he was a professional cyclist, and so you try and get up with and he weighs 30 kilos more than me. So going down the Y-tax when he's got the weight advantage and the skills is horrible.
That's it. I just didn't have the skills. I had like a 50 kg weight advantage.
You always, every straight line in Italy, you'd come past and you go, I'm a downhill athlete, and then we'd hit the first hairpin.
I'm like, well,
I'm not.
Exactly. This is my playground. Downhill straight.
Like poor Beckonator that we had to leave in the rain in Italy.
That's true. But I think that's how we all have learnt, is by watching more skilled people. But I do think it's something that is not an obvious avenue to pursue if you do want to get technically better, because I think all of us have just said we learnt by copying the people that do it better than us. For you guys, certainly some early bike handling skills. If you're really novice and just entering the sport, a lot of the tri clubs are going to offer something like that. And I would encourage a lot of people, because it's just assumed just because you can pedal a bike and not fall over, people think you have got some skills, but I'm not so sure. Tex?
I was just going to add, actually, because I remembered it as we were talking. The other thing I always did when racing, when it was technical, because we did Cansamera and the likes, is I had the next page on the Garmin, the default second page was a map. And so I knew what corners were coming up, and underneath it I had power and speed. And so I kind of knew what was beneficial of putting power down versus being aero, and then kind of if that corner was going to close up or open up. And then that gives you try and remember the key ones, and you sort of have a few landmark features, but it's such an easy way to sort of recognize the course and go, oh yeah, that's the hard corner. I need to focus here.
Yeah.
That's actually key, because I've seen during the tour, Tom Pidcock does that. He flicks to another screen and he does exactly the same thing. So if Tom's doing that, probably a pretty good idea for us to do that.
Yeah. I actually know exactly what Jack's talking about, because I'd have my phone was my maps, because I'm a poor coach and couldn't afford a big enough head unit that until I bought a second-hand one off Jack, because again I can't afford a brand new one, and my eyesight is such that I need almost a laptop on the handlebars for me to be able to see these maps. But knowing what's coming next was really valuable, especially on long descents like Nice, if you have got a decent map on your head unit, so you can pick exactly how tight the next corner is and what that leads on to. So that's certainly something there. But I think you guys must have decent tri clubs and do whatever you can from a technical perspective when you get these new athletes buying these expensive bikes. And TT bikes are not the easiest thing to manage down descent at all. It handles completely differently to a road bike. And it doesn't surprise me at all that we're seeing these road bikes in the pro peloton. And I hope that would lead on to some of the age groupers, not worrying about what they look like so much and maybe going for that road bike over a TT bike when they get to a race course like Nice. Kate, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think if they have a coach, then the coach is going to be, if you have a road bike and a TT bike, what's your strengths, what your weaknesses, and work out what's going to be the best for you. So my athletes that were racing there last year, they had great TT's bikes, but knowing the skills, we sent her over on her road bike with clip-on bars, because just the feeling and having the confidence as well on the bike, on the road bike instead of the time trial, that was enough of an advantage just to feel more confident on the bike course.
It's also
watching someone.
Sorry, it's also like a coaching education as well, because when they first started racing these, also I was a little guilty of not knowing any better and being like, no, TT's faster, always ride the TT, and then as you look at the course and you learn a bit more and you really dive in, and there's all these other education sources like VeloViewer and whatnot to show you the course now. And I'm like, okay, actually for you, you're probably better off on a road bike. So I wouldn't say it's not always been the athlete's fault. Maybe I've made a poor decision on their behalf on one or two occasions, but now try to be better at that. But and that must be across the board. You imagine if we're making those mistakes, how many other coaches out there are, and they're probably 80% of them are saying, hey, you ride this, you'll go faster. But even if they've got an FTP of 100 or whatever,
And look, I know Kate's my easy target when we talk about how much indoor riding, given the fact my tyres have not seen outdoors for 6 months now. And whilst the magpies are still floating around, they won't for another couple of months. However, the predominance of age group athletes are training indoors nowadays for safety
reasons.
I would suspect that our technical riding skill of the average triathlete has probably got worse. Maybe, I don't know. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's also a time availability thing as well. Like they can get up and they can train in the dark, from 5:30 to 6:30 and get the hour ride done. Then the kids wake up, then they're getting to school. And so it's the only time I can do it. And especially, let's be honest, for females, I'll do it on the trainer during the week. So for a lot of our athletes, we design the program that way, and then say, hey, on the weekends, if you can get outside on the weekends, then we're going to, be able to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and learning how to deliver that fitness on an outdoor ride is key as well, because we're just stuck in such a fixed pedaling cadence, not even concerning ourselves with how we manage and balance the bike as well. And sometimes people get completely disappointed when they see the power and fitness that they can produce outdoors is nowhere near as strong when they're in that fixed position on a indoor trainer. So that's managing expectations there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and turning erg mode off.
Kate, please don't tell me erg mode. Please don't tell me erg mode.
No, I don't. I don't ever use it. But I'm still having to tell athletes to turn it off, because they're like, like it's, I'm like, turn it off. Don't use it. You need to learn how to sit in the zone yourself. Erg mode off. Yep.
100%. Yeah, learning how to pedal the bike in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about chasing people downhill. Okay, I'm about to give Tex his opportunity to froth. What was there a World Cup on over the weekend? Mountain biking, Tex? Was there anything léger that you were watching over any other sport? Talk to me. What happened?
Well, it was the Downhill World Cup. It was the return of Sammy Maxwell in the cross country. Oh, and you didn't even bite when I sent you those videos. That was truly epic. Like when the Frenchie, Max Olren, comes through and he's already on the time splits, and because he'd had a crash in qualifying and still qualified first, which is ridiculous in downhill. They are already breaking the barriers down, and there is like tens of thousands of people. Chainsaws, that's a big thing in downhill, the chainsaws with no chains on, revving up, and then the tricolor of flares going off, and they just stampede the front. It got so big, I think the French president reshared the videos of it because it was such a big deal. And they're saying, like, how do we replicate this across the rest of the World Cup venues, because nothing comes close to sport in France, which is epic. Some pretty good bike handling skills, because it pissed down with rain in qualifying, and it was a complete mud bath. Just like the top enduro boys were doing well because they wore flat pedals. They wouldn't even ride clip-ins because it was so muddy.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty incredible to see what you can do on two wheels, because those are not small jumps they do, let alone in a mud bath that just clogs up the entire bike. And then, in the cross country, I mean, the story of the weekend, I think, for us Kiwi, and probably around the world, and the women's cycling as well, was to see Sammy come back. That was pretty special. Set some of the fastest laps in the short track, and then, unfortunately, a puncture ended it. And then in the cross country, I think she finished 6th, I'm going to say. But you see her break down in tears afterwards, and all the riders come around and support her, and to have a team that's sort of backed her like that all the way through to LA and just be like, you do whatever it takes, we'll give you every single piece of support to make sure you come healthy. That's such a big thing, like a lot of sponsors should look at, from other sports, and be like, how do we support a rider not just from one year to the next? Like, how do we create a pathway for them to make sure they're the healthiest athlete inside and outside of the sport? It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, it was quite an emotional reel that was posted, I think, by the World Mountain Biking, as opposed to it being Sammy herself. But it was an interview with her as to why she had that break. And it's well documented, her struggles in terms of eating, going into the Olympics. And then obviously off the back of her world, championship last year, she obviously struggled again after that and took that time out that you're talking about, and talks very openly and honestly and emotionally about how much of a challenge it is for her with this disordered eating that she's struggling with.
She struggled with it
and seems to be.
Sorry to interrupt you. She actually struggled with it in season last year as well. There was she was on an absolute rampage, and then she realized the demons were creeping back, and then suffered a bit, and then came out swinging just enough to clinch the overall, which was pretty spectacular, but it was enough to cause that break initially. And it's pretty hard from sponsors to go, you're the world champion, and the world champion goes, I'm not going to race next year, I'm just not there. I've got stuff I need to sort out and them to back it. They could be parading this jersey at every single race, every single venue, and they're like, no, you do what you need to do. Would rather have you in the team for years to come.
Yeah. No, it was a pretty open and honest account, even though it was a short account on the reel, and it was just so positive to see her back. And just sort of highlights what we've talked about in the past is those struggles with the fueling and health and endurance sports. But I want to come back to Kate's point around erg mode as well, and something that I'd read recently from a coaching perspective, and the hypotheses around why a lot of elite mountain bikers are transferring so admirably to becoming elite road cyclists as well. And one of the theories behind it is their ability to deliver the power required to get across the race course or the workout that they're doing with an incredibly wide cadence range. So, whether they're working in very low RPMs with high torque, or whether it's very, high cadence, low power outputs, it seems that, mountain biking, whoever's ever stepped on a mountain bike, and I know, again, Kate, we don't want to bring up some of the reminders
demons.
of the demons as such.
Yeah, it's my bad.
But what the science is telling us is that they have built this capacity to meet the demands of the race with a incredibly wide cadence set. And that's not something that erg mode, as you are encouraging your athletes to do, that's almost at the opposite end of the spectrum. And even probably indoor cycling per se, unless you prescribe a workout that has a wide variety of cadences, a lot of people fall into a very narrow band, and they become very one-dimensional, so that if they're out racing, should the demands of the race course or whatever's happening across the course of the race don't have them sit in that band, then they can become quite uneconomical in trying to achieve those power outputs. Is that a point that probably reinforces why you try to get people out of erg mode, Kate?
It's more about, yes, that is an important point, but it's really just understanding what it feels like for them to push that power or to maintain that power themselves, rather than the bike doing it for them. Because it's very easy just to set it and switch off and be, like you said, they could be pushing 60 cadence, but hey, I'm holding the power I need to do. Well, you're not really, because you're just rolling the legs over and it's the numbers sitting there. So, but if you were having to do it yourself, it would be very different. And so because once they get outside to do it, like you said, it is different. Then they can't do it. So
Yeah. Well, it's the most unrealistic way to ride a bike, really, isn't it, erg mode? Yeah.
And then they complain that when you have when you want them to do something that's quite high, or doing 30-second intervals, the bike or the erg mode automatically goes into like a real high power straight away, and they're like, I can't even push the pedals, and turn erg mode off, you'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%. Like from what I was trying to explain before, imagine you're an athlete, and the challenge is to hold 250 watts, but you can hold that comfortably at 60 RPM, at 70 RPM, at 80 RPM, at 90 RPM, at 100 RPM, because you've developed that, which a mountain biker can do. And your cardiovascular response to that is going to shift a little bit. It's not going to be a huge difference. But if someone's only ever riding around at 60 RPM, and then all of a sudden they get to a hill in a race where they've got to change down and go up to 70 or 80 RPM or 90, and their muscles go, I've not really done this before. This is a bit odd. I'm not trained to do it. I think we lose sight of the fact that having a large bandwidth that you can comfortably sit at, because a lot of people will say this, the moment I go to low cadence or I go to really high cadence, it feels awkward. Like I've had that a lot of times from athletes. Like they don't say it feels tough or anything. It just feels awkward. It just doesn't feel natural. And the body's so used to doing what it's been trained to do. So if you sit there just in erg mode all day, you're not going to build up a vast array of skills that are going to be able to help you once you get out there on the road. And I think, Tex will know this as well, from mountain biking, you came to this sport as a pretty high revving cadence guy, didn't you?
Yeah. But that's still cycling in New Zealand. Not anymore, but it used to be a gear restricted. So you had like 6.61 meters of rollout, which is like a 53-17. So it's a pretty small gear. It's good for kids because it stops that whole sort of man-child mentality at school of having some 6.5 foot, 90 kilo dude just grinding, 60-11 down the waterfront. But it's like, yeah.
When you've only just got your first pube.
I didn't have them then. No way. That's way.
He's 25.
I could check now. Yeah. I would have been 40 kilos probably. 5 foot.
But it did, because when Jack first started, and this is where you find the balance between desired power output and cadence, and there is a sweet spot. You'll find most people, if you look at their data, are typically going to sit between low 70s to high 80s in that sort of, if I said 75 to 85, most people are going to be plus or minus that. Very rarely are you going to see people sitting at 95 to 100. They're probably losing an opportunity to put more force through the pedals. But you've got to have experienced having to ride at a variety of cadences to not be shocked once you're forced into riding at a variety of cadences.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you're like me and you ride indoors all the time, you just need to make sure erg mode's off and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, as long as your coach tells you that, Kate, you'll be fine. It is interesting. Do you ever, and it's actually another question, because a lot of people talk about grinding gears, like Sutto, we talked about it before, although I think Julie Deron, I've seen her ride a few times, and she doesn't seem to be quite as lower cadence as what she used to. But for example, Sutto per se was someone who believed that a lower cadence was a more cardiovascular, economical way to ride. But what happens when you guys see, let's say, an athlete who is grinding as such? If they're working out at, say, 65 to 75, is that ever a problem for you guys?
Am I taking this one?
Yeah.
I would say yes. That happens, I would say, relatively frequently, but I like to do it if I'm doing a workout inside for people that naturally have a really low cadence. I'll always start and finish with like Tabata style, and I'll give them a power range and I'll give them a cadence goals. And usually that cadence goal is between 90 and 100, and it doesn't solve the problem straight away. But if you do that for every ride, for let's say they ride 2 or 3 times a week, usually one's outside. Let's say it's 2 rides a week, every week for a period of time. So 2 blocks, maybe that's 2 months. And then you see, hey, let's have a look. How have they adapted to that? And if it becomes less of a problem. So yeah, but in the main sets, I try not to focus on that too much. I just see if it naturally happens over a course of time. I give them slight cadence goals that are a little outside the comfort zone, but say they're at 65, I might be like, let's try and ride between 68 and 72. And then we just see if we can shift it slightly. But I do a lot of like spin-ups. It might be 40 seconds. It might be 20 seconds. It might be 30 seconds. It might be 10 seconds. Doesn't really matter. At really fast legs with... It could be on a minute cycle. It could be on a 2-minute cycle. It's typically before a set and after a set. And it seems to help, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's because the monotony of indoor cycling is so easy to just sit there and jump on your bike and then get into the grind and then off you go. And, 8 hours later, when Kate gets off the bike, you've been sat there at 72 the entire time.
She's gotten better, actually.
I have gotten better, haven't I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
nice.
But I do think that's important, and I think that's a really important point. But one of the reasons that I brought that up is because I looked into this recently for an athlete that I have that gets off the bike after an Ironman, and she's around 65 RPM. And I'm like, oh, is this a good thing or a bad thing? But then when I thought about it critically and I did a little bit of research into it, it depends on the power output that these athletes are actually producing at that sort of lower cadence. Because I think historically, the thing that we've worried about is that you're shifting a lot of the production of power to the muscles by asking them to press harder on the pedals at a lower cadence. And is that going to be metabolically more costly than if you move to a slightly higher cadence, took some of the pressure off the muscles, but gave it a bit more to the cardiovascular system? Would you all of a sudden become a bit more metabolically less costly as such? And after a little bit of research, it said, well, always consider the power that they're producing at that cadence. And this particular athlete that I'm talking about doesn't have a high FTP. I mean, we were only talking like 150, 160 watts. So when they're, what we would say, grinding, they're still not producing a lot of power as a result of it. So the metabolic cost isn't actually that great. If that athlete had a 330 watt FTP, and was working away at 60 RPM, then it would be a completely different story, because they're having to put a shitload of pressure through each pedal stroke. And then there would be a more metabolically costly sort of tax that they'd have to pay as a result of it. So it does come down to power outputs as well. So don't always just assume, I'm saying this to the listeners, if you're a coach, that someone who's at 65 RPM is needs to change. They may not need to change at all because their power output, it's not really costing them too much. And I think that's probably what we would have thought as coaches normally, like those grinders are probably, paying a heavier toll for the lower cadence. But yeah, always look at their power outputs as well. Talking cycling though, Guy, you must be watching the Vuelta. Did you watch the first stage?
I have watched the first stage, and I'm saving the second stage, even though I've seen a few snippets for the wind trainer this afternoon. But I did watch the first stage. Wow. If you want to see bike handling
skills were required? Is it Tex? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, it was just a momentum game. Like, as we'd seen in the downhill and the cross country, there's like 25 corners, I think, through Monaco. You got to dodge the super yachts and dodge the $1 billion cars. It's an insurance claim you don't want to pay out, is it? But it was pretty epic. Like, to be in Monaco's the first city, I think, to host the Grand Tour Grand Depart for all 3 Grand Tours, which is pretty cool. And emotional start, obviously, for Josh Tarling, and it was really cool to see Tadej sort of talk about that and how much he actually wanted Tarling to win. And then when he got the time check and realised it wasn't Tarling in the hot seat, he kind of stepped on the gas and was like, oh, well, I'm not letting Hayter win, and absolutely sent it. And yeah, a bit of a masterclass. And I actually, talking about that sort of grinding as well, they talk about the sort of neuromuscular control. I just saw a little article on it about, because I think it was only 10 kilometres. It was about 11 minutes of riding. And how, usually these time trialists look so smooth, these guys, because they spend so much time on the bike. But over that distance, it's not really at that sort of FTP power anymore. It's just raw power, and how much when their body's just throwing, it's squiggly. It's a torsional runner, guy.
Yeah, I did see that.
Legs are going everywhere, and you can imagine some big waddies being thrown down to hold that bike straight. Yeah. And one by 0.09.
And 25 corners.
Yeah.
25 corners. Like that, we're talking bike handling. It's all, you watch any of them descend and just handle their bikes under that kind of power output as well. It's huge amount of skills, and something that we as triathletes could we learn a lot from. I don't think we can replicate it. So, but it just shows you, the technical aspect of their riding, doesn't it?
Super short cranks. Rail the
super short cranks. Yeah.
No pedal strike. Yeah, little 155s.
Yeah.
I have 145.
Yeah, 155s. Well, you're on 145s.
Yeah.
You went too far.
Not in kid size. Yeah. I'm like talking adult size cranks. Yeah.
Not kids' bikes.
She is a midget.
Well, look, I mean, talking about world-class efforts, though, not just obviously the Vuelta, which seemed to come so soon after the Tour de France. I mean, I don't know whether this is the year of sport, but it seems everything's back-to-back You guys, as I've mentioned, or maybe not mentioned, but you're off to do the New York Marathon. We wanted to know whether Guy's time was for the New York Marathon was going to be less than a quarter. Was the new World Half Marathon record going to be a quarter of Guy's time at the New York Marathon, or are we being disparaging? What's the run training like at the moment?
We should put a bet on this. I reckon Fitter Radio should put up a prize for the person that guesses close to Guy's marathon time on November the 1st. Got to be a good prize too. And I have to
4 hours 26. I'll put it in now.
And I'll go 4:25.
Oh, wait! You guys are too close. You got to spread it out.
No, I'll run.
I've got anything over
because you'll run 4:26.
Okay.
Will you be fit enough to run the marathon? That's the first thing we want to know.
That is a good question. There's lots of risks, but the caller has to take these risks into account. I can speak the English language.
Okay.
So I'm okay for right now, and I'm up to 23 kilometers I ran last week. This weekend just gone, I ran 21 point something. So
at this rate, it's going to take you 2 weeks.
He's got 9 weeks. 9 weeks.
So 9 weeks, okay. So we can speculate. So you ran 21 point something this week. What was that? How long did that take you? So I can just make a comparison to the new World Half Marathon record.
We have to go this weekend. Last weekend looked way better than this weekend because I did a little event in it.
How long? Let's not cherry pick your best 21Ks from the last 10 years. How long did last weekend take you?
Yesterday, it's 4:58. So whatever that is for 21.1. So
1:45.
1:45.
5-minute K.
Oh, an hour 40.
Just under 5-minute K pace.
Just under. I like your attitude, Kate.
Nice.
Good. Just under.
Nice. That would that have been in MAF heart rate territory?
It was actually 120s, like 120 lows.
Lower than MAF.
Okay.
Yeah, just
lower than MAF heart rate. So max aerobic function heart rate. We'll talk a little bit about this in a second. Tex, thoughts on the new World Half Marathon records?
Yeah, it was.
And he may never hear what you say, so you can be absolutely.
No. I mean, it was a big step up. Like I said, because you sent it to me, and I'd seen it this morning. We were discussing it at swimming. Like it was 50. I might get this wrong now. 56:30 was it? It was 56. Yeah. It was 30 seconds. No, 56:50.
Yeah.
So it was 30 seconds more than the previous record, which is a massive step forward, especially at that velocity, and to accelerate over the course, which is how they're all doing it now. Like in the marathon and the half marathon, I say start off conservatively, late 13 minutes sort of 5K and just sort of wind into it and just like a build run, and so you can close it.
He went away at 7Ks though.
Yeah.
Didn't he go away from the group at 7Ks?
Like,
did he go away at 7Ks, or did he realise that the people he was running with were just not on the same spreadsheet as him?
Like, well, because there must be only a handful of guys. It wasn't that long ago, like that we were going under an hour. It was like there was a handful of guys that were doing it, and then you had Kiplimo, who kind of stepped it up, and then Kejelcha's always had the range, like from the mile to. When he came into that London Marathon debut, everyone was like, this guy's probably the most diverse runner since maybe Bekele that we've had in terms of like a range of disciplines that he seems to be able to cover with some pretty incredible speed. Well,
that was his marathon debut, wasn't it?
At
like
London,
so second fastest time ever at debut. Yeah, sub 2 at debut marathon. So he's obviously got the credentials. The questions that'll always be asked is when he first went to the US, he linked up with Salazar's Nike Oregon project, which me and Tex have walked around the university there. Tex got us backdoor entry to the Oregon project. That's when I was thinking of maybe taking up professional long distance running. I had Tex make the introduction to Salazar. Wasn't there at the time.
He'd already been stricken off the building, remember?
He had been.
Yeah, because if you do something bad, you get struck off the building. So Nike campus has got all these different buildings, and then they lose their name if you do bad. So Alberto Salad Bar, he's gone. The Lance Armstrong building's gone. Yeah. Which other ones have gone? Yeah. There was an American football player, which we didn't know of, but we got told he did something bad, so he was gone. And everyone's like, so down which building's
Hall
next?
Of Fame. Yeah, and they have their Hall of Fame with all their photos of their
on the...
No, this was buildings that were named because everyone was like, is Tiger building still going to exist? Because Tiger likes to sort of play an edgy line of
very edgy.
But that association is horrific for any athlete. I mean, well, I think it personally is. But we have to question and look at anything like this when the record is broken so convincingly. Like you normally see a few seconds shaved off here and there. You've got to. Are the shoes, Tex, you'll know, he's in Adidas, isn't he?
He's in the new Adidas. I think what was more than the shoes or anything like that is usually that sort of record seems to be broken in Europe, and it was in Brazil.
Yep.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't expecting it, because I was like, oh, okay. Like usually there's a bit of hype and it's like, oh, such and such is going to have a good go at Valencia, and like, of course they're going to run Valencia or Seville, somewhere like that. And you're like, that makes sense. But yeah, it was like, Buenos Aires on a Sunday. Why not?
What was his average cadence? High.
Oh. Yeah. I don't think you can do that. It's like 65 steps a minute.
So actually, if we're talking about running and going from that extreme to the next, if you want something interesting to follow for the next, it started yesterday, it's going for 7 days. I don't know if you've heard of Phil Gore, who's probably he has been a world record holder for ultra backyard running. He's running for 168 hours. So he started yesterday. He finishes in a week's time, 6.7 Ks on the hour, every hour, for 168 hours to raise money for Telethon, which is our big fundraiser for the Children's Hospital here in WA. And you can follow it live on his Facebook page. And they're doing it's an update, and they're doing like, this is what happened in the first 24 hours. So he's been going like quite slow in the first couple of days, slow as in 50 minutes. So he gets 10 minutes break. But then during the night, he brings his times down to like the low 40s so he can get in some sleep. And then during the day he goes, and so his goal is, and people, you can pay to run a lap with him. So that's how they're fundraising. So people are paying to run 6.7 K.
Bev, Fitter Radio, come over, do an interview.
So this
I was just going to say, I'll do one of the daytime loops. Because I think 50 minutes for 5K would be close to race pace for me.
6.7.
So 6 points. Oh no, it's quicker than race pace. You don't want to come to fundraise and find you blowing.
So today's
actually do it with them. Okay, so we'll put some links to that in our show notes so people can see what you're talking about. Because what's the total distance? Do you know what the total distance is?
They did say what it was, 700. Let me, hang on. I'll have to check that for you. I'm not sure if it was around 700 Ks, is it?
Okay.
Although, Tex is going to work it out now for you. 160.
1,125 kilometers, 0.6.
Mm-hmm. If he does it.
With
pretty much a build week for you, Guy.
like building with Kejelcha.
Well, that makes, as we go back, because Kejelcha was doing, I think, over 200 kilometers a week, and that really puts it in perspective. If this guy's running non-stop for 7 days, and this Kejelcha's running a fifth of that, you ain't got much time for much else, apparently.
Yeah, you can't. No, his reported training volume, Kejelcha's, is 120 to 140 miles. So what's that? Like 190 to
I think.
To 225 sort of Ks a week.
I feel like
this is
no, for marathon and everything.
Okay.
He's big aerobic trainer.
For everything. Yeah. So, that's,
and he still has range.
That is enormous load. Now, this comes back to the conversation I was going to say. So math training, if people haven't heard about it, came from Phil Maffetone way back in the day. Max aerobic function is MAF is an acronym for. And it's talking about the theory behind this. It's pretty simple. It's like low intensity training. It's another version of training in zone 2 that, what are the purported benefits? And it worked for a lot of the disciples of Maffetone's philosophy way back in the day. So Mark Allen was probably the greatest known proponents of that style of training. And what the theory was is, a lot of the metabolic and cardiovascular, musculoskeletal changes that occur when you do low intensity training over a long period of time in chronically high volumes was the most safest and successful way to get to the highest levels of performance. And we still probably hear MAF being bandied around because I've done an interview with a pro from back in the day, Amanda Stevens. I don't want to age Kate at this point in time, but Kate does know of Amanda. She was a weapon of a swimmer. She's Amanda Sadler now, and she is a specialist in terms of gut health, and we're going to release this episode in a week or two. But she was also someone who trained under Phil Maffetone. And if we talk about the MAF training principles as such, a lot of what happens with these elite marathon runners fall into that category. When we hear of these reported training volumes of 120 to 140 miles a week, yes, they're running them at fast paces. They're fast paces to us, as but to them, like running around, if he can do a half marathon at 2:41 per K pace, running at 3:10 or 3:15 or 3:20 is not particularly taxing at all. Running at 3:30 per K pace, which is for us outside of Tex, is not humanly possible.
You wash your mouth out.
So we'll see when New York rolls around. But a lot of his training is going to be low intensity for him as well. And these athletes that are racing, and he races, what distances has he raced, Tex? He's gone on from 3K all the way up, hasn't he?
I've been starting the mile. They often do, 1,500 mile. His mile time might be like, I think, it's crazy. The range on him is ridiculous all the way through.
Yeah. Well, he's been Olympic 10,000 meter finalist. I've got here, 2-time world indoor 3,000 meter champion, and he's certainly upped his mileage for the marathon for sure. He's not running, 120 miles a week for the shorter distance races, but he still would have been running a lot. And it comes back to this theory of the benefit of low intensity training. Kate, you mentioned MAF when I mentioned Amanda Stevens' interview. You would have been around when the MAF principles were in racing, when that was one of the biggest approaches or training methodologies that was being spoken of.
Yeah, it was definitely very popular. And I think that when you mentioned her name, I do remember reading an article about her training and how she was using that approach to her training because Phil was coaching her at the time. So I had a good understanding of what it was, what it involved, and I'd spoken to lots of other people who had used the method. And I've used it in moderation or different forms. It hasn't been 100%. I'm just doing MAF training for, months and going to, build from there. But using that information of the heart rate, 180 minus your age, and keeping some of the easier runs within that zone is definitely used in a combination with other things.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned this last week, though. I mean, he used 180 minus age, plus or minus your training history, and that set the upper limit for this MAF heart rate. And then the sheer bulk of your training was to be below that. And then over time, as fitness developed, you'd start to see your ability to run faster and faster and faster actually happen. But the question is, is this appropriate for age group athletes who don't train 30 or 40 hours a week? Because a lot of the people that were under his tutelage at the time when this was really popularized would have been the Molinas of this world and so forth. And training volume matters when you're doing low intensity. Tex?
Hasn't this? I haven't done the full research, but hasn't this been bandied around with the Norwegian skier that just won every single medal at the recent Winter Olympics? He does all his training, he reckons, in zone 1, because otherwise he loses his fast twitch muscle fibers, and then he smashes the couple of hard sessions. So he gets the quality out of that. He does so much training because he's got all this time, because he's a professional athlete full time. But he says if he does all this zone 2 training, can't complete the fast stuff.
Yeah.
And then he goes and does all this zone 1, and then hits the 2 sessions, the key sessions, to keep that speed. Yeah.
Well, it's Nils van der Poel, isn't it? It's how to skate a 10K.
I remember that one, but similar, it's that same principle.
Yeah. Have you guys ever read that? Is it a manifesto? I'd say it's a manifesto of Nils van der Poel. I think he was the 5K Olympic champion at ice skating. Speed skating as such. Have you ever read that PDF that he put out about his approach to how he prepared for those events?
Ooh, I might have been forwarded that by a very big math guy. His name is Antonio Juan Gonzalez III.
You know Antonio, the owner of the bike store in Tri-Town, Boise.
Huge math guy.
Yeah, he's a big math guy, actually.
Okay.
He would love this conversation.
Well, if you didn't read it, I would suggest it's worth a read, because he trained mostly for it on the bike.
Yeah.
But the biking that he did, which was ridiculous, ATEX, it was like
I can run you a week.
5 days a week.
35 hours a week, 5 7-hour rides.
I have read it.
Like zone 2.
That's right.
Yeah. And then when it was time to get it was like
hard.
It was
who's got the time for that?
4 hours and 4 by 12. No, because he took Saturday and Sunday off when all his friends were out.
Yeah,
they were all had normal jobs.
You could have a normal
life. His normal life. They'd all go to work 9 to 5, so he'd ride his bike 9 till 5.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah, so that's how he had some normality. But you're right, Kate. Like this, and we see it all the time at the moment, because social media has become this place where everyone's espousing the way to train. Like, don't do it this way. I've got the secret formula. And in endurance sports, zone 2 is one of the most bandied around proponents or protocols that we should actually invest our time in. But it is time dependent. Let me tell you, the benefits that we get from exercise do increase if intensity increases. We get more of a signal as intensity increases, but we have to balance the recovery costs from intensive sessions as well. So that's why we end up having this nice mix with a little bit of high quality stuff, and then supporting that with a lot of low intensity or moderate intensity. But as we start to reduce the number of hours an athlete has available, the signal from low intensity training is not as strong, and therefore our ability to maximize our fitness based off 6 or 7 or 10 hours of training a week becomes a bit more limited. So it's certainly a horses for courses situation. However, what I will say is, if you do have unlimited training time, most of these people that have made it to the very highest level of the sport have approached it in a math fashion, where a lot of time is spent at low intensity, because the recovery from that is relatively quick. So you can do more and more training, but what's the sweet spot in terms of hours per week? Well, it's certainly not 35 as Nils van der Poel did over a 5-day period. And can you imagine jumping on your bike every day going, 7 hours, here I come.
And some of it not hard. I mean, not easy either. Some of it was not easy off memory, right?
Well, because he was Dutch, right? So it would just be flat Dutch road, like bike path, Dutch roads. Like, you'll be under constant power. Like, it's not like you're in the French Alps, like, oh, this is a beautiful climb, I've got the 20-minute descent. He will just be on the pedals from out the door, and it was like 250 to 300 watts every day.
Yeah,
7 hours.
But his FTP was 400. Like, again, it's a bit like when we look at these things, when people think, oh, the Kenyans run fast all the time because I've seen their splits. Well, if you've got a 400 watt FTP, then 250 watts is not that particularly taxing. So it's relative.
But the metabolic demand's really high, because I know all the cyclists. That was the same. They all had FTPs and 20-minute powers over 500.
Yep.
but they had to go ride round at 300 watts in Barcelona, and boy, they were hungry.
Exactly. Well, see, this is
huge burn.
You have to, because again, you're right, but let's say from a hormonal perspective, from a musculoskeletal perspective, the recovery rate's actually quite quick because the intensity's low. From a metabolic perspective, however, it's not. And, you push more power, you burn more calories. So, you've got to, don't think of everything being easy. Yes, physically, you might have recovered quickly, but metabolically, if you're not eating like an absolute horse, you ride 35 hours at 260 watts on every single ride. And in his manifesto, it states this. He was chips and ice cream, and he was he's burning 7,000 odd calories a day. Before you even worry about your basal metabolic costs, how do you fuel that? So Muscles was turning around and saying that wasn't taxing, but I mean, his stomach was, he taught himself how to eat. But yeah, look, I think zone 2 training, we all have it. Everyone does it. How much of it we do is the question. And I think that comes down to how much time we have available.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah. That's the big one. And not all of us can train like Kate or train like the world half marathon champion.
Some of us have got jobs. Well, I do.
Well, I do.
We do too.
Yeah, I've got a job. Well, you guys do as well. Yeah.
Ours just doesn't pay as well as Texas.
Well, on that note, team, we've covered some triathlon, a lot of other different bits and pieces today. But I think it's been good. It's been awesome to chat about something different and get everyone's perspective on it. I do think we should have a sweepstake on what Guy and Kate will run. Yeah, because you will train specifically for it, I'm
After
sure.
Sunny Coast.
After Sunny Coast. Yeah, but Sunny Coast, you'll be taking some of that Sunny Coast towards the marathon as well.
I'm coaching Guy. We talked about it off air.
Yeah. It's coming. Can we start tomorrow with a run session? Sort of designed for Sunny Coast and flow on for the marathon. So maybe,
Oh, hold on. Have you entered? You speculated. Are you doing it? Are you racing?
I have entered. Yeah, I've got to the 28th of August to pull my entry. If I don't think I'm fit, I've got 4 days. Oh, man.
He's got 4 days.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll leave you and Jack to work out what the marathon program looks like after that. But I mean, what's your weekly run mileage at the moment?
Sorry, what did you say?
Weekly run mileage at the moment?
60K.
60?
For the last 2 weeks, it's been 60. Yeah, it's quite a lot for me.
Oh, together?
No, that's his mileage.
Each week.
No, as in your 2 weeks combined.
No,
Right,
each
or
week
just
has
the
been
one?
60.
Yeah.
Oh, 60.
60K.
So what is the ramp rate to 220?
I struggle to go over like 80. If I go over 80, then I'm like crippled the next week. But if I sit at like 60-ish, so I'm doing a quick ramp for Sunny Coast. Well, quick ramp. I've been at like 40 for a few weeks and then 40, 50, 60, I think. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Are you looking for us to add to
pretty
that?
much. I was
Is this a question for now? What should I do with that?
That's what Jack's going to tell him.
I was more justifying like, hey, Jack, don't take me over like much over 70 because I'll be showing you my tibia in the screen next week if you do. Hey, Jack, this is my tibia.
He can't do volume.
No. We want you to race. We don't want you to not race. The podcast will be way better after Sunny Coast if you've raced.
Man. How many shoes are you going to buy between now and the marathon? Actually, that's not even a question for online.
Question.
No, we're going to wrap it up.
He's already bought them.
I am like disagreeing with you on the Rays. I really like the Rays versus I bought the Skies. And now I'm like, I like a shoe that's so soft that you feel like you're running on a cushion, even if you don't get much return out of it. The Rays is like so soft. I love them over the Skies. I think the Skies are hard. And everyone's like, they're the softest shoe in the world. I'm like, no, they're not. Rays are the best. I want to run in the Rays. What do you think? Bad choice.
Done.
That's a discussion for another time.
Done.
That's a discussion for another time. Anyway.
It's not going to make
we've got some weeks to discuss that in your preparation.
Which is probably fair.
Don't pull out, Guy. Do not pull out. We need you to race.
I can't. I'm going to get shelled so bad on the bike. My biking's like not good. Oh, what?
That's exactly why we need you to get here to race. All right, team. On that note, we'll leave it at that, and we'll catch up next week. See you later.
See ya.
Yeah.